So I want to bring out our first two. This was not originally scheduled to be part of our agenda, but I want to tell a story, or I want them to tell the story of how we, World Travel, can help to influence somebody's life. So I'm going to ask Amanda Gergich and Laura King to join me on the stage.
Yeah, so I'm Amanda Gergich. I'm a lead commodity manager for First Solar for all of our indirect sourcing, which includes our travel program. And I've been a client of World Travels for about 2.5 years now. Two years? Yeah. I'm losing track of time, but
3.
Sure.
And served recently on our advisory board.
Yes,
So thank
yes.
you very much. Some of your co-advisory board members are here in the audience.
Yep.
Laura, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Laura King. I'm our VP of Business Development here at World Travel.
Excellent. And you've been here
I've been here for about 3 years. Yeah.
3+ years.
3.5
now.
years.
All right, so it doesn't matter which one. Laura, you might be better to answer this. How do you guys know each other?
Well,
Other than business.
our friends at Travelport actually introduced Amanda and I. RT Small said to me one day, I met this awesome girl in Ohio, and you live in Ohio as well. She's brand spanking new to travel, and she was in finance before, and I call it she got plopped into travel. And he said you should reach out to her, and maybe you can help introduce her to some people in the industry. Amanda and I went to lunch. I drove in a horrific rainstorm to Toledo, and we went to lunch, and it was like we had known each other for years. So we had an awesome lunch, and then they were going out to bid for their travel business, and we did their RFP, and we were selected. So we've become friends since then, and personal friends, and we get together since we're only 2 hours away from each other on a regular basis. So.
Fantastic, thank you. And what a great, I've been blessed to witness the great friendship, so it has been wonderful. Amanda, a couple weeks ago you took a trip. You went away. Tell us where you went and why you went.
So a couple of weeks ago, I took a flight to Israel. My brother, who I'm very close with, he met a Russian girl pre-COVID. And of course, typical love story, they fell in love. And then COVID happened, and the US government kind of stopped processing all immigration paperwork and everything. So it had been almost 3 years, and Olga was trying to still get to the US on a 90-day fiancé visa, for those of you that watch the TV show. And in June, they had arranged it in Poland because obviously the US Embassy during the Ukrainian and Russian conflict, they closed down. So they reassigned her case to Poland. And we had everything booked for Poland in June. And about a week before, Poland declined Olga's entry into their country, along with all the Schengen zone European countries. So we were pretty limited in where we could go. And my brother's lawyer told us, hey, there's one place, Jerusalem, will accept all of the US Embassy cases, pretty much from Russians and from other places, simply because, of their religious culture over there. They're visa-free, so they will take anyone from any country. So that's how we ended up over there. We met Olga for her interview, which was on October 3rd.
So while you're over there, as everybody watches the news, something pretty impactful happened. And tell us about your first understanding of what was happening and how did you react?
Yeah, so we spent the first week in Jerusalem to be close to the embassy. Her interview was approved immediately, but we were waiting on her passport to actually get the stamp in it. And the embassy really won't guarantee. They'll say, I believe it's 3 to 4 weeks is their estimated processing time. So we stayed in Jerusalem on Friday. We moved into Tel Aviv just for a change of scenery. And we were staying right across the street from the Mediterranean Sea. It was gorgeous. I could see the beach and the sea from my room. And so I decided Saturday, I'm just going to wake up early. I'm going to go watch the sunrise on the beach and spend just a lazy beach day. And so I was getting ready. I had just put like some things in a bag to walk across the street, and I hear a siren go off. Not really understanding what this siren was. I then hear people screaming, and I look out my window, and people are running to kind of this parking garage area. And so I run downstairs, and as I was running downstairs, there was a loud boom. It sounded like a bomb. So I go to the front desk, and they said, yeah, go to the bomb shelter. It's not a big deal. This happens, we all have bomb shelters. They're very safe. What happens is you go down there, you spend 10 minutes, and then you come back up. It's like, oh, that seems kind of crazy, but okay. So I went down. There were a lot of people down there from all over, different parts of the world, and we were just kind of chatting. And a few Israelis were there as well, and they said, "Oh yeah, this is normal. What you heard as the bomb was the Iron Dome, the missile defense system. So it just means you're safe." I'm like, oh, okay.
Reassuring.
Great. So I waited down there more than 10 minutes. I think I was the last person to leave. And so at this point, we had no idea. They thought this was a routine attack, I guess. Very rarely when Palestine attacked them would they come up that far to Tel Aviv. So this was a new thing. People were kind of chattering about it, but we really didn't understand. And at about 10 a.m. Our time, the air raid sirens went off again, and they continued to go off. And we continued to hear the bombs, the missile defense system, but unfortunately, the Hamas terrorist group, their plan was to overwhelm the Iron Dome, and they did. And one of the bombs hit about a block and a half away from us. We did see that as we were driving back to Jerusalem at one point. So, and then there was a TV in the bomb shelter, and we saw everything, kind of breaking news that Hamas had launched an attack. It was very long-winded, I'm sorry.
No, we appreciate you setting the stage for that. But I imagine your next reaction is, get me out of here. Mm-hmm. I can't be here. My brother can't be here. Mm-hmm. Olga, with that dynamic of Olga from being in a different country, mm-hmm. what were the steps you had to take in order to, and I know on Sunday, shortly after you reached out to Laura, so I'd like Laura's perspective of getting that first phone call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Olga, didn't have her passport any longer. It was with the U.S. Embassy awaiting processing. It was a Saturday. I think very naively, I thought, oh, well, it's a time of war. So the U.S. Embassy won't take the weekend off, right? And they'll be a resource. Unfortunately, they were not. They were closed both Saturday, Sunday, and then also Monday for Columbus Day, which was incredibly disheartening. So all we needed was Olga's passport back. Well, not all we needed. That was step one, was getting Olga's passport back. So on Sunday, I started reaching out to people. I was feeling very helpless, and obviously I reached out to Laura. Well, I think you reached out to me, actually. I was a little bit overwhelmed at first.
I woke up and saw everything. I was like, oh my gosh, Amanda's there. And so I texted you. And then it was probably like 5 minutes. It felt like 3 hours until you texted me back, but yeah.
Yeah, so everybody just kind of kept telling us, like, oh, you just have to wait till Monday, and then you call the embassy, and I'm sure they'll process her passport quickly. So Monday morning, we woke up early. We started, and I was emailing. They had issued email addresses for the embassies, so I'm blasting them with emails, like, we need her passport back. Everything's approved. Online, it says it's approved. Just put the stupid stamp in her passport so we can get it and go home. And so we woke up and we tried calling the embassy on Monday morning, and unfortunately they were observing Columbus Day. And that's when I think something kind of came about in me where I was like, this is just not acceptable. And so I started to basically be the squeaky wheel. I started contacting all of my local in Ohio news channels. I started making Facebook posts. I started making LinkedIn posts. I started asking friends and family to send notes to congressmen and senators and the governor and At this point, we're in the bomb shelter, and as I said, there's a lot of different people from different countries, and we were sitting and we were talking, and within 24 hours, so on Sunday, different people from parts of Europe were already evacuated. They had flights arranged by their government. One of the U.S. citizens asked them, they said, "Do you have to repay that? Like, how much do you have to pay your government back?" And they were shocked. They asked what we were talking about like 3 or 4 times. And I think that's the disheartening part for me, is that was the first form of assistance I got from our government, was a promissory note. That was open-ended. That was a federally guaranteed loan, so you could go to jail if you don't repay, and it never goes away. And it was completely open-ended, so it could have been $1,000, $100,000, whatever. And I think what was really disheartening was that was sent before any assistance or evacuation, was kind of outlined. So anyway, but I kept in close contact with Laura. We were really pushing to get the passport back. Luckily, let's see, it would have been Tuesday morning after Columbus Day. Olga did. We started calling the embassy first thing. We were actually really close to the embassy in Tel Aviv, so we walked over there. And that was another eye-opening experience. We thought, being U.S. citizens in a foreign country, that the embassy would be open to us, especially in a time of war. They wouldn't let us in. They said we needed an appointment, and their first appointment was January 18th. So, so we kept calling and calling. We kept getting call centers in the U.S. That were the crisis hotlines, and they were just basically reading through very standard, basically everything we had seen in an email, right? Like, you need a promissory note, you need this, you need that, but they still had absolutely no plan for us to get out. So on that Tuesday morning at about 10:38, Olga got an email from the Jerusalem embassy and said, "Your passport's ready." And this was during a time when we knew via the news that the terrorists were taking, especially American citizens, hostage. They were posing as cab drivers. And the Jerusalem embassy came and said, so it was 10:38, and oh, by the way, you have to pick it up by 12 p.m. So I ran and I got us a cab. My brother sat in the front seat and had Google Maps open the whole time, so that if he saw that the guy was going off course or anything, he could try to overtake him or whatever, I don't know. But we were watching his every turn. So we did fortunately get to Jerusalem at and by the way, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem are about an hour apart. So we were on a very tight timeline. But we got there, I think, at about 11:42 or so. And were able to get her passport and then return back to Tel Aviv. So that was kind of step one.
Yep. And step 2 was getting home.
Step 2 was getting home.
So I know you and Laura were in constant contact throughout this entire time. Laura, what wheels were you putting in motion at World Travel in order to just get all 3 of them back safely?
Yeah, so I started initially the first morning when I figured out what was going on, woke up to all the news stories. I immediately emailed you and Liz, of course, letting you guys know what was happening, what was going on. I've been in touch with Amanda. But then I continuously kept emailing the senior leadership team and updating them on what I knew, just on a personal level. Amanda had just been involved in our advisory board. She had gotten really close with everybody. But as I finally found out that they got the passport back and they weren't taken by a cab driver, which was really nerve-wracking, sitting there like, "Can you text me back?" But once they got that, it was a matter of, okay, now how do we get them out? And not only how do we get them out, but Olga it's not just, oh, hop on a plane to anywhere and then we'll figure it out. It's, Olga's a Russian citizen. She has a visa to the US now, but she can't go to the majority of all the other countries that they could have flown to. So we're Googling, where can she even get into? Where's the list? Liz is brushing off her travel agent skills and starting to look up flights. And I cannot tell you guys, Liz just rolled up her sleeves and was like, I got it, I'll figure it out. And it was incredible just to be like, our CEO is just like, I'm there, I'll do it, I'll figure it out. And it was, when your friend's in a bomb shelter, having panic attacks, you're trying to talk her through it. And Liz is just like, I'll figure it out, everything will be fine. And it was just incredible to work for a company that will do anything for your friend. Sorry.
It's all right. Understandable.
I came prepared.
So let's, you get on a plane, you get to Abu Dhabi, I think you flew to.
Yep.
And then I want to hear the ending of the story where there were two very special people meeting you in Chicago.
Yeah. So I was on the phone with Liz and Laura. We were booking the flights, you know, and Liz said, I can get you from Tel Aviv to Abu Dhabi and then Abu Dhabi to Chicago. And she goes, we need to figure out a flight or something. Do you want to go to Detroit or Columbus or Cleveland or where do you, because I live in Toledo. And I said, no. I said, I know my parents will come and pick us up. It's about a 4-hour drive to Chicago. I said, that's not going to be a problem. And I think once we reach the U.S., like, I'm kind of done with flying that day. So yeah, there was a lot of tears, honestly. My brother's not very emotional, but we both had tears in our eyes when we opened the window and we saw that we had landed safely in the U.S. And my mom and dad were waiting to pick us up. And it was hard. I kept a lot from my parents while I was there. Even through my news interviews, I would call them and tell them that I was exaggerating and that I didn't sleep on a bomb shelter floor because I didn't want them to worry. And of course they did.
Yeah. Parents do that.
But it was certainly the highlight of pretty much my life, I think, at this point.
Highlight of your lovely Israel trip.
We know that your immediate family is extremely happy that you're back, and you know, I know you were telling me yesterday your mom didn't even want you to come to this trip. Your world travel
She's
family,
begging me.
Your world travel family in this group here just gives you a big community hug and say, welcome back, we're glad you made it back safe.
Thank you.